Randy Stair seemed like an average kid. He grew up in the quiet countryside of Pennsylvania. He went to school. He had a family. Life appeared ordinary. But beneath the surface, something dark was brewing. A storm raged within him. Randy was fighting a silent battle with his own mind. Randy found solace in the flickering light of the television. Cartoons became his escape. He immersed himself in their colorful worlds, their fantastical characters. One cartoon in particular captivated him, Danny Phantom. He was drawn to the show's themes of duality, of good versus evil. He related to the struggles of the characters. Among the show's villains, one stood out, Ember McLean. She was a powerful ghost, fueled by anger and a thirst for revenge. Randy was mesmerized by her. He felt a strange connection to her, a kinship. He saw himself in her pain, her isolation. As Randy's obsession with Ember grew, so did his isolation. He spent hours alone in his room, drawing pictures of her, writing stories about her. He created a whole world around her, a world where he could escape from his own reality. This world, this escape, would become his obsession, his downfall. His interest in cartoons became all-consuming. It was more than just a hobby. It was an obsession. It was a way to escape the pain and loneliness he felt inside. But this escape was a double-edged sword. It isolated him further, pushing him deeper into his own mind. The line between fantasy and reality began to blur. Randy's internal world was a chaotic mix of fantasy and fear. He struggled with severe social anxiety. Interacting with people filled him with dread. He felt judged, scrutinized. He retreated further into himself, finding comfort only in his own thoughts. He couldn't explain the storm raging inside him. He couldn't find the words to express the pain, the fear, the confusion. He felt trapped, suffocated by his own mind. He desperately sought an outlet, a way to release the pressure building inside. His drawings became darker, more disturbing. They reflected the turmoil within. Twisted figures, grotesque creatures, and violent scenes filled his sketchbooks. His art became a window into his troubled mind, a cry for help that went unnoticed. Randy's parents, oblivious to the depth of his suffering, dismissed his behavior as typical teenage angst. They believed he would grow out of it. They didn't realize the severity of his condition. They didn't see the warning signs. They didn't know their son was slipping away, lost in a labyrinth of his own making. Randy's obsession with Ember McLean morphed into something sinister. He began to believe she was real, a spiritual entity trapped in the cartoon world. He also believed that he had a female soul that trapped in a male body. He wears female's cloth every Wednesday. He believed she was reaching out to him, calling to him. He felt chosen, special. He created Ember's Ghost Squad, or EGS. It was a delusional world, a dark reflection of his own pain. In this world, death was not the end, but a beginning. It was a release from the pain of life, a transformation into something more powerful. Randy populated EGS with fictional characters, each representing an aspect of his fractured psyche. He gave them names, backstories, and motivations. He wrote elaborate narratives about their lives, their deaths, their transformations into vengeful spirits. He even created online profiles for his characters, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. His online presence became increasingly disturbing. He posted videos ranting about his beliefs, his hatred for the world, his desire to escape. He glorified violence, idolized death. His words were a chilling foreshadowing of the darkness to come. The year 2013 brought a wave of grief that shattered Randy's already fragile emotional state. A close friend died unexpectedly. The loss devastated him, amplifying his feelings of isolation and despair. He retreated further into his delusional world, seeking solace in the arms of his fictional creations. Then another blow. His grandfather, a source of stability and love in his life, passed away. The pain was unbearable. Randy felt like he was drowning in sorrow, suffocating under the weight of his grief. His mental state deteriorated rapidly. The line between reality and delusion blurred completely. He saw his EGS characters as real entities guiding him, urging him toward a dark destiny. He believed they were trapped, just like him, longing for release. He saw it as his mission to free them, to join them in their spectral realm. His online activity became more frequent, more intense. He posted rambling messages about his pain, his anger, his desire to escape the real world. He spoke openly about his suicidal thoughts, his fascination with death. He was crying out for help, but no one was listening. Randy's fascination with death took a sinister turn. He became fixated on the Columbine high school massacre. He saw the perpetrators as martyrs, misunderstood souls who had found liberation through violence. He began to idolize them, romanticize their actions. He started referring to himself as Eric, after Eric Harris, one of the Columbine shooters. He saw parallels between their lives, their struggles, their anger. He believed he was destined to follow in their footsteps, to leave his mark on the world through an act of extreme violence. His writings and drawings became increasingly violent. He sketched out detailed plans for his own massacre, meticulously listing his targets, his weapons, his escape route. He recorded videos ranting about his hatred for humanity, his desire to inflict pain and suffering. His descent into madness was accelerating, fueled by his delusions, his isolation, and his morbid fascination with death. He was a ticking time bomb, primed to explode. In a chilling video uploaded to YouTube, Randy Stair documented a pivotal moment in his descent into madness. He held a coin in his hand, his face illuminated by the eerie glow of the computer screen. He explained he would let fate decide his course of action. Heads, he would take his own life. Tails, he would take the lives of others. His voice was calm, devoid of emotion. As he flipped the coin, it landed on tails. The decision had been made. Randy's fate and the fate of those who would cross his path was sealed. He saw this as a sign, a confirmation of his dark purpose. He believed he was chosen, destined to carry out this horrific act. His preparations intensified, his resolve hardened. The countdown to tragedy had begun. The video ended abruptly, leaving behind a chilling silence, a stark reminder of the darkness that can fester in the human mind. June 7th, 2017. A date forever etched in the annals of tragedy. Randy Stair, armed with 2 shotguns he had named after his EGS characters, walked into the Vice Market where he worked the overnight shift. His face was a mask of cold determination, his eyes devoid of remorse. He had planned this moment meticulously. He knew the layout of the store, the routines of his co-workers. He blocked the exits, trapping his victims inside. Then he unleashed his fury. Gunshots shattered the night, echoing through the aisles of the supermarket. 3 innocent lives were extinguished in a hail of bullets. The victims' co-workers who had considered Randy a friend never stood a chance, their only crime being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Randy's rampage ended as quickly as it began. He turned one of his shotguns on himself, taking his own life in a final act of self-destruction. The scene that greeted first responders was one of unimaginable horror. Bodies lay strewn across the blood-soaked floor, victims of a senseless act of violence. The tragedy at Vice Market sent shockwaves through the community and beyond. People struggled to comprehend how a seemingly quiet, unassuming young man could commit such a horrific act. The answer, as with many tragedies like this, is complex and multifaceted. Randy Stair's story is a chilling reminder of the devastating consequences of untreated mental illness. He was a young man consumed by his own demons, lost in a labyrinth of delusion and despair. He cried out for help, but his cries went unanswered. His online activity, filled with disturbing imagery and chilling pronouncements, was a desperate plea for attention, a cry for help that was ignored or dismissed. His obsession with death, his fascination with violence were all red flags, warning signs of a troubled mind spiraling out of control. Randy's story highlights the importance of recognizing the signs of mental illness and intervening before it's too late. It underscores the need for greater awareness, understanding, and support for those struggling with mental health issues. The tragedy of Randy Stair reminds us of the importance of mental health awareness. Recognize the warning signs and reach out to those struggling. Mental illness is not a weakness. It's a disease needing treatment and support. Break the stigma and create a culture of support. Be vigilant for signs of distress in loved ones. Reach out for help if you or someone you know is struggling. There are resources and hope for a brighter future. Let Randy Stair's story be a call to action. Work together to treat mental illness with compassion and understanding. And if you don't know how a small girl survived 17 days in the dark, horrifying and abusive dungeon, then check out the video.